Blessed ones, no intro today. I want to take the time right now to have a moment of silence for those we have lost just recently. All right, thank you. Larry King, Dustin Diamond, others. Been a year since we lost Kobe and Gigi. But today's episode, I really want to focus on something. Cicely Tyson, rest in peace. I missed it last week, but she had passed away just a month, not even a month after her 96th birthday. Last Thursday, I believe, on the 28th. It is a blessing to be 33 years old. Despite my advantages and privileges being in a environment that isn't as unfortunate or poor, it is still a blessing to be 33. You know, statistically, the number was 25 that young black men would reach. And I don't know, the numbers might have gone down. You know, we have babies dying. Not from natural causes, not from, accidents, but there's babies, children dying due to maybe angerment, violence, and we lost a legend. A lot of our grandmother, mother, godmom, the beautiful black queen, one of the pioneers in this entertainment culture, Cicely Tyson, who just from the sources that I got on, which I really hate sometimes, of Wikipedia, but from the sources, she passed in Harlem, in which I believe she is from there. So I'm guessing that she did pass at home. Someone can fact check me and correct me. You know, at thinking about my own grandfather, my own grandmother, who has passed back in the early 2000s. You know, they was in their 80s. And then my grandfather, who passed a couple years ago, just maybe 2 months ago, like day after Christmas of 2019. I think it was 2019. I do apologize if it is maybe 2018. I cannot remember. I just know it was after Christmas. But I just want to expound on something. I I do want to say that my faith is never does not hinder when we lose those who are young and old. Now, Cicely Tyson is definitely a familiar actress to me, and I am a fan. Personally, one of my favorite movies of hers was Mrs. Scrooge. You know, your typical Christmas Carol movie. Like, you know, you had Scrooge with Bill Murray. We had, you know, the Christmas Carol. You know, the regular Christmas Carol. Go to Christmas past, Christmas future, Christmas present. And though, though she is a Emmy Award winner, Black Rail Award winner, Tony Award winner, multiple awards, I think she will be remembered for most of the roles she's played in, and mainly being that strong African American woman. And just passing just days before Black History Month, I wanted to take this time to pay homage to her, because again, I wasn't I wouldn't be able to tell you every single movie she's been in, but like I mentioned, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Medea's Family Reunion, Mrs. Scrooge, Idlewild, the Help. These are movies that I remember her seeing her in, because Cicely Tyson was like a household name before I was even born. And I do want to just say, not too many people has lived the life that she has lived. Just from the sources, she is the godmother of Lenny Kravitz. I believe one of Tyler Perry's son, Denzel's daughter, I believe, just from sources. But married to Miles Davis in the 80s, and who is, those of you who we already know, we're not going to do a backstory. We know who Miles Davis is. And though 96 is a hell of a life to make it to 96. And of course people die all the time, and especially last year, 2020, losing Kobe, losing Chadwick, losing Tiny Lester, all these great icons in their own right, and them just being in their, not even, young. Because to me, as a man of God, as a God-fearing man, a man of faith, We are all young to God, and to me, like I said, 33, with my own personal anxieties and fears of death and everything. It's just to see that we have a woman, a black woman, to even have such a life as long as Queen Cicely Tyson is very inspirational. We all won't get there. And it is Black History Month. And this is the first episode in Black History Month for In the Blur podcast. And the reason why I didn't want to do an intro today was because I felt this one is too important to really waste time doing the edits. To be quite honest, I think a lot about my grandma, my last living grandparent. I talked about my father last episode, and my grandfather, and as far as daddy issues. And please bear with me, as I collect my thoughts. Thinking about my grandmother, who is still in her 80s. I think about Cicely Tyson because, again, Cicely Tyson. Again, when I look at her filmography, in her her catalog, whether in shows, theater, she been in a lot of movies, great movies during my time, and I'm sure prior to my time. And I always known Cicely Tyson as one of those women of wisdom. Even if we don't know what movies she was in, we know the name. We know who she is. It's like one of those things where you see her on the big screen, you see her on film, you see her on television, you say, that's Cicely Tyson, because Cicely is such an older name. It is a name of wisdom. And I want to share just some scriptures, if I may, blessed ones, please, that talks about respecting our elders and why respecting our elders is important. And it may be out of order, but these ones are scriptures that I remember reading, remember meditating on. And ironically enough, I knew that it was going to come a time where I would have to share these scriptures. And you can do with it as you will. Proverbs 20:29 says, the glory of young men is their strength, but the splendor of old men is their gray hair. The glory of young men is their strength, but the splendor of old men is their gray hair. grandeur. You know, it's a blessing to be young. Again, I'm 33 now, and I'm not 15 years old young, but I'm 33 years wise. I'm 33 years young compared to a 96-year-old young. It's to interpret it the way that I read it. Just reading that, the glory of young men is their strength, meaning that, hey, I have my strength. I can lift, I can walk, I can breathe, I can run. All that takes strength. That's a physical strength. That is something that is definitely worth giving praise and honor for. And because like I say, my grandfather who passed away, he got sick. But, you know, because he was older and because he had his gray hairs, that goes to show again, which Proverbs 16:31 says, gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life. Now, me and my lady, we have a date, and I really wanted to do something different. You know, I have the honor to have an amazing, God-fearing, loving mother, best friend, black queen in my life. And as me being a young black man, maybe wiser beyond my years, I would sometimes say often, and others may say often, because, you know, compared to just what maybe the other men in my age, you know, compared to that, I was going to say, okay, I shaved my head, but I wanted to dye. I was going to dye my beard gray. Not to look wiser, not to, you know, I just wanted to do something different with it. I wanted to really see how it looked. You know, me, you know, even though my hairline is receding, I do not have gray hair. And we all know gray hair means wisdom. I mean, I've seen young men, like when I was in high school, there was a guy who had gray hair. I'm not exactly sure why, but I mean, hey, like I said, time is different to God. So when it says gray hair is a crown of glory, it is gained in a righteous life. It's like, you know, that doesn't just apply to men, it applies to women as well. And like I mentioned, Cicely Tyson had such a life. Just being 96 and then just the role she played in and who she represented in those movies and those shows and everything. It's just like, you know, that this is her. This is her in real life. You know, working with the likes of, you know, Tyler Perry, working in the likes, you know, like I said, with Oprah, just like being in many positive black cinema, black movies, black films. She is like the wise mom, the wise mother of the mother. And I can't stress this enough. We have to protect and respect our mothers, our black women. Because, like Job 12:12 says, wisdom is with the aged, and understanding and length of days. As you get older, you become wiser, or you should become wiser. If you are an old fool, you were a young fool, so it's important to listen. Oftentimes, respect isn't just about having manners and, hey, allowing them to do. A lot of times, respect has a lot to do with listening. We have to listen, pay attention. We don't have to always agree. We don't agree with everything Scripture says. We might not like everything Scripture says, but it is very important that we listen, pay attention. And listening don't always mean you're hearing it. Listening also means to follow. Because why? As Hebrew 13:17 says, and this is the last scripture, obey your leaders and submit to them, for they are keeping watch over your souls, as those who will have to give an account. My grandmother is a praying woman. Very traditional, very old-fashioned. Everything is pray about it. What God says is I believe it, and that settles it, and that's it. So when I think of this one particular role, matter of fact, in the Tyler Perry Diary of Mad Black Woman, when Cicely Tyson was talking to Kimberly Elise about forgiveness, that is something definitely most elders tell us about forgiveness. Because when you don't forgive someone, they will have power over you. So sometimes forgiveness isn't about that person, it's about you. Some people feel like forgiveness is overrated, and maybe it could be to them, but I feel like when an elder is speaking, and I didn't think too much of it until recently, we have to listen. Like I said, there's old fools out here, but the best, for us, we have to listen. They could be wrong, but we have to listen. We want to live life the way we want to, and that's fine. But you don't make it to 96 without listening, without respecting your elders, without really giving back what was given to you. It's a different time now, but not really. The good die young. The wicked has a long life, but we have to think about it like this. It is a blessing to be able to die peacefully in your home. And peacefully doesn't always mean painless. Peacefully just means humility. Just being able to be one with you in the caller. Only Lord knows why it is our time. And I can't stress this enough. I was just talking to my cousin and brother. I remember what I was doing 15 years ago. I remember what I was doing 20 years ago. I'm 33. I still remember things when I was, you know, 5 years old. We have things like pictures. We have things like home videos. Those are things that capture memories sometimes. And some things I still remember vividly. I was just telling them, like, back in 2005 when I first moved to Washington, D.C. for the first time to live. It wasn't like a visit, like a weekend visit or holiday visit. I was there to live. And then, I talked about how, man, my cousin used to hang out and do things like, say, this was 16, 15 years ago. And I'm 33 and I'm saying, like, man, it was so long ago. You can do so much in 10 years. So much in 5 years, so much in a year, so much in a week when you think about it. And though there are people who are old, that are in their hundreds, but being 96 and having that luxury to live in such a, let's mind you, 96. She was born in the 20s. She's been an entertainer for 60 years plus. Just imagine the things that she's seen. Just imagine the things that she's been through. Just imagine the things that she heard. And I don't know what the cause of death was, but the point is that life is so precious. We need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. I suffer from high blood pressure, maybe anxiety and everything, and I sit here and think about death all the time. My father had just expressed, actually just recently, after, last episode, he expressed, he used to write poetry. And there was a particular one that he wrote. And he actually mentioned, I think he had mentioned something to my grandfather 15 years ago about him, thinking he was going to die young. And my grandfather said he didn't know that. And how would we know? We don't know things. Even like sometimes we don't really know certain things unless we say something. And for whatever reason, what causes these anxieties, these fears of death, it's because death happens to everyone at all ages, at any time. We do not know. We want to say we live our best life. You only live once, sure, but we have to also remember that we don't cut it short. Respecting our elders can prolong our life. And even when you don't, even when you do, even when you don't. But I always think about how long my life will be. Like I said, things can change in the blink of an eye. And I don't want to sound like I'm being preachy. I really just want to honor the life of those we've lost by living with the utmost respect, utmost humility towards those that came before me. Whether you're 5 years older or 100 years older. So those of you who are listening, those elders who are listening, those children who are listening, I just want to say that I'm listening so I can give back those same wisdom, those same seeds and lessons to those who come after me. And I hope those who comes after me listens as well. With it being Black History Month, I do want to say this again. Every month is Black History Month. And like I mentioned before, I am in a relationship with a Black queen, with a Black mother. And I love her. And like most women with relationships with their parents, some relationships will, sometimes it will be disagreements, sometimes there will be dysfunction. But I do want to express that my future mother-in-law, who is a woman of God, woman of faith as well, has a lot of wisdom as well. And like most parents who come from a different time, who is not really from the generation of digital social media, who's kind of more of, maybe the 60s, 70s, whatever, they have different ways, certain ways about themselves. And just really being able to meditate and reflect on it, I respect it. I respect these ways, and I'm trying to really have a better understanding and a better obedience towards that. Because when I think about all the elders who have passed, when I think about people who are in their 80s, matter of fact, when I think of people who pass in their 70s, in their 80s, in their 90s, and even those who are still living in their hundreds, 101, 103, 111, I'm like, man, what did they do? That's why I say it's sometimes a shame that I'm ashamed to say this. Like, man, what a life. Like, how did they manage to live so long? And sure, maybe it can be the foods that they eat. But I think most importantly, I do believe that it comes from the wisdom. Because in this generation, my generation, we do not listen to our elders, because we do have a little bit more technology now, and there's so many more things that we have access to. So we might think that a lot of ways about the older generations are outdated because they didn't have the same access. But I do want to say this, blessed ones, those listening, without them going through what they went through, we wouldn't be able to have these things. So we must remember to always respect them, respect our elders, respect our mothers, honor and respect our fathers, follow their example. There are some old fools out here, but we have to remember, we know the difference between foolishness and wisdom. God will bless us to be able to make a decision. God gives us free will, but that doesn't mean live recklessly. That doesn't mean disrespect people. God, Scripture, whether you believe it or not, is very important. And it's not about religion. There's other Bible references that are not known to the world. But I just wanted to share my thoughts, my prayers with you all. You know, it's been a year since we lost Kobe and Gigi. You know, we lost so many people in 2020. And even though we lose people all the time, 2020 was a year where it just felt like, man, a lot of people that we knew or heard of, it seemed like this was like the capacity. We reached a certain capacity where it's like, you know, we lost personal friends and family. You know, people we supported, people that we was fans of, people that we loved, people that we admired. And it's like, man, like this is... And, you know, though there are people, we are still losing people from COVID. And it's like, you know, we losing, you know, but Cicely Tyson, we lost a real special person, and I don't know her personally, but I just know that her gift as an elder was something of a motherly, grandmotherly love and wisdom that I will always cherish. You know, and blessed ones, I just want y'all to remember we have to respect our elders. If you're on the bus, if you're on a bench, if you're at an event and you see an older person, especially an older woman, the older black woman, offer them your seat. Don't wait for them to ask. Don't wait for them to say something. Don't wait for anybody else to say something. Offer them your seat. Man or woman. Young people. You know, everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own views. But that doesn't take away from the facts of life. Did I read them again? I will not. But hey, you don't have to believe in scripture. You don't have to follow scripture. That's your own prerogative. But I do want to double down and reiterate and share one more time and tell you that the wisdom is here. The lessons are here. The instructions are there. The directions are there. Respect your elders. Sometimes I have my faults. I have my own views as well, but I always want to show respect to my elders. Whether they're right or wrong, because at the end of the day, God is watching. They might not be the ones that can punish you or do anything to you, but God can. God will see how you treat your mother, how you treat your father, and He will handle you. Your parents might not be all the way there. They might not have been there for you, but God will treat you accordingly. God will handle them. If you have parents, if you are an elder and you are not doing your job, if you're not taking responsibility to treat the youth and to guide them and lead them, the Lord will handle that. Again, vengeance is his. So again, treat everybody accordingly, but just always remember to respect your mother, respect your father, respect your elders. You will live a much longer life, because remember, how people treat you is not on you. You do not have to respond to negativity. If you can ignore it, that is not mistreatment. But I'm going to go. I didn't want to prolong this episode any longer than I had to, but I sometimes get in my zone. So thank you all for listening. Elders, thank you for the gift. Youngsters, I ask you, what can I do? Blessed ones, stay safe, stay positive, productive, and prosperous. And RIP to our lost legends, to where it is God's will. And I'm out. Blair.